It looks like Google is back in the game, and it also looks like the AI era is not just dominated by a few big players that are funded by different VC companies. Google's agentic AI era bet is coming from Gemini 2.0, and I have been glued to their models and then Gemini Deep Research Assistant and all that they are trying to do it on 2.0. I'm really excited with what they're bringing in Gemini 2.0, and if they execute really well, I think they're going to have a very good competitive edge against models like O1 and more. I know that O1 Pro is not available as an API, but I'm also really excited for it. But when you compare it with Cloud Sonnet from Anthropic, O1 still ranks okay. And when you compare with developers who could build apps on it, while Gemini 2.0 is racing ahead to meet the OpenAI and closing the gap between the market. This is the Google's biggest launch ever in competition with OpenAI. Just remember, OpenAI had 12 days of the OpenAI launches, and then they have given a slew of launches both on ChatGPT, on the consumer side, on the API side, on the fine-tuning side. They have announced new research projects. In the end, they announced a model that competes effectively with humans on coding platforms like Codeforces and does really, really well. And it also like raises stakes for AGI, which is called as artificial general intelligence, wherein a common or a normal human being can do tasks by observing things. Similarly, an AI system could also do it. So O3 is definitely going to be a huge. But Google also came up with Gemini 2.0 with a slew of models, different types of announcements, different categories of things. Like say, it announced a flash model, it announced an advanced model, it talked about thinking model, which is similar to O1 in terms of reasoning. So there are two phases to this entire launch, which is like more merry to the developers building the LLM apps, because now you could build on a very large context window end of the day, and you could also build on Google's stable API, and you could also build on fantastic ecosystem and a lot of Google also offers Google Cloud, which also means that there are so many benefits in just using Google Cloud, because if you're a startup, you get some 250K worth of credits, and you probably get access to a whole host of services and partners that Google Cloud Marketplace would bring in. So you could also like think of Google competing in this area by bringing around a very functional assistant. Say for example, well, Claude is good for B2C. Many people might not be using, only pro users use Claude. Maybe ChatGPT is for everyone. Google's Gemini is trying to be helpful across their 1 billion daily active user product, which is like YouTube, which is Google Search, Google Photos, and a bunch of these, Google Docs. There are so many products, like I think more than 6 products, which has like, 1 plus billion daily active users. I'm talking about billion, billion with a big B, right? It's not million, it's not like, anything smaller. It's 1 billion users that Google is trying to build and impact with AI. Just imagine the productivity gains when people in the Google's funnel use these products to get better and use these products to become improved. They can always give Google Gemini as free, but Google Gemini is today advanced, is not free. It comes for a charge additionally. So they are looking at it like a revenue opportunity and not just like something that they want to close the gap quickly by giving it for free. From technical superiority point of view, like I said, for developers, 2 million context windows, really good. More context, especially for use cases like coding. If you have a large code base that you want to really just shove it into the context window and ask questions, we all know that needle in a haystack benchmarks or case studies where like you specifically wants to target a specific use case or a function that you want to ask questions about, and then maybe if you have larger context window and if you have can provide more context with a limited amount of time, I think you will still be able to perform better. The API for natively multi-model capabilities, but then that is a super 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 cool feature if you ask me, because you could show it, you could talk to it, you could probably also ask in text and send everything, which makes it like covers a lot of, like say for example, there are 5 senses across in a human body. Like say you could see, you could hear, you could probably talk, you could sense, and more of these senses, right? There are 5 senses, and similarly like Google's natively multi-model capabilities bring closer towards the human senses, and then that makes it more and more exciting. On the similar note, I think Google Deep Research, which I mentioned earlier, is like the web with Gemini, and it's also a perfect start at several agentic workflows that other companies are doing. Like say for example, I've noticed XR.ai, where it could make lists and also scrape through the internet to find leads, exact leads that you really want to reach out, right? And make Notion databases or Excel sheets, right? So I know that Google Research is so exciting. It could research around various papers, technical papers on Archive, or it could also research around web search. It is a direct shot at several of these agentic workflows that are powered by likes of other search engines or other B2B search providers. But at the same point of time, I also feel that Gemini Deep Research has to improve a lot for it to become better, because I have noticed that after you complete the research, after you got the report, the second prompt isn't really better. Probably it's just a layer on top of a lot of these good models. It's like an composable or a compound architecture that they have built around, and then probably the second prompt is not really optimized for querying on top of the corpus that they have generated. So maybe more things on that. At the same point of time, let us look at another facet of this entire Gemini 2.0 launch and why Google is going to maybe do really, really better. AI coding is one of the largest areas in the entire AI era. You could generate code, you could not spend a lot of time to write code, but then you could write code very cheap. Like, you could just at a slew of hand, you could autocomplete code. That's what is a lot of these. I think I've noticed that there are 38 coding assistants that are available today, which could generate code for free. Some of them are fully free up to some extent, except like you also have famous ones like Cursor, Windsurf, several of these. But then these are AI coding tools that help you write code much faster. So with Google large reasoning model, is it useful for generating more thoughtful code? Is Google building a coding model that's going to disrupt this entire AI coding area? I also am super excited about Jules, an experimental AI powered coding agent that uses Gemini for coding tasks, and it also integrated with GitHub Workflow. So Jules create multi-step plans, modifies files, and prepares pull requests. Haven't you heard this before? Haven't you heard of Devin? Haven't you heard of like Replit Agent? Haven't you heard of SW Agent from likes of several AI coding companies? This is exactly a shot at those coding companies and the capability that Google has in terms of all of this. There are quality of life improvements for developers. Like say, the AI Studio is a hub for developers. I also heard that AI Studio is getting into merged into the DeepMind, the research wing of Google. And then you also have API compatibility with OpenAI. Whatever we speak, OpenAI is the leader in this industry, just like AWS sometime back in the cloud computing. Becoming compatible with OpenAI's APIs means a lot to Google. That just notifies that Google is ready to meet the developers where they are. The API compatibility with OpenAI means a lot, and I think this is an exciting time for developers who are using any AI provider. And I'm superly excited to kind of like look at the entire host of AI coding tools and then different models to play around and build something really awesome.